Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vuset Lodlo, and welcome to my channel. I am 27 years old. I was literally born in the year that Nelson Mandela became president of South Africa. I have 5 great siblings. I'm the first of 6 in my family. I come from Zimbabwe, but I live in London now. I've worked 5, 6 formal jobs. I worked my first job at 18. I was a teacher. I taught primary school kids, and then later on I taught high school math and science. And then from there I went into finance, then I went into private equity, and then I went into agricultural engineering, and now I am in investment management. So what brings me here? Last year, for some of you, you know that last year I created a one-on-one consulting platform of some kind where people who want guidance on how to achieve their academic dreams could speak to me. So I started this thing 2 months after I started my school at London Business School, and I was reflecting on how hard my experience had been in getting to this place, and how clueless I had been for a long time. I also realized how back then, as I was growing up, when I was still in Zimbabwe, I knew that I wanted something that was bigger and better than what I was doing at the time, but I couldn't quite put a finger on it, on what it is exactly that I wanted to do. I didn't know how to think around it. So I ended up wasting a lot of time and energy doing things that did not yield fruit at the end of the day. In large part because I didn't know anyone that had been in any of these spaces before. I did not know anyone that was doing something that I really wanted to do. I mean, I grew up and lived in very small towns and rural towns. One of the towns that I lived in had a population of around 12,000 people in total, and the other one was even more remote. It had around 2,000 people in total, and it's the kind of towns where there were no traffic lights, there were no colleges, no universities, and for the other town there was no commercial bank at all, so you don't even start to speak of investment. For 23 or 24 years of my life, I literally did not know anyone that had worked in finance before. I did not know anyone that was in investment banking or investment management or investment anything. I knew I had heard about the stock exchange, and I did have a picture in my head of what that could look like, but I could not think about investment profession beyond the stock exchange, for example, right? So I could not have dreamt of being at a place like London Business School, or any such great school for that matter. I did not have the capacity to dream half as wild, right? And for some time, actually could not imagine myself seeing what beyond the borders of Zimbabwe looked like, let alone live in London. That would have been too far-fetched, right? But with the mercies of God, that I knew every morning, I am here today, I am in London today, right? So I wanted to share the possibility, I wanted to share these possibilities, the energy of these possibilities with very many people, right? I wanted to be that exposure to someone who for some reason did not have the exposure, right? And I still want to share this energy in these possibilities, because I know that there are many brilliant people back where I come from, but also to be the exposure to someone who, like me a few years ago, did not have the exposure, and was in a situation that put some kind of ceiling and some kind of limits to the dreams that I could dream. I want to impart the capacity to dream. How this mindset of abundance really started, also known as the turning point in my life, was when I started my undergraduate studies. I prayed and made a pact with God that I wanted to be his vessel. So I wanted to be God's vessel. I wanted God to use me to further his mission and purpose, right? But he also had to make it up to me, right? I did not want to be going around being crazy about a God and yet be failing in my courses, right? So he did have to make it up to me. I wanted God to vindicate himself by making me pass. I wanted him to vindicate me in the process of vindicating himself, right? So I wanted him to give me a first-class degree, and I wanted a job in a country that had 95% unemployment rate. Well, arguably so, but it was around 95% unemployment rate at that time. And for me, getting a first-class degree was almost the only way I could have gotten a better life out of the situation that I was in. So I tried to live up to my side of the pact, and now that I think back, now that I look back, right, I admire the faith that I had, because it's not like God came down from heaven and said, yes, Musi, I will live up to my side of the pact that you have made for me, or anything like that, right? But I moved and lived as though I was entitled to God fulfilling his side of the pact that, of course, I made on his behalf, right? So I tried hard, but sometimes I failed and sometimes I was just completely lost, right? But I tried again, and God has done for me things that are absolutely beautiful, right? He has done absolutely amazing things for me. I got the first class, but not only that, I was also the best student in my class, in the finance class, and I was the best graduating student from the Faculty of Business across all of the school's five faculties. And from there, I got into private equity as my first job after undergrad, which is something that doesn't happen. It's not something that is common in any part of the world, right? And I ended up at the world's best business school in London with every single penny of my existence here taken care of, right? And now I rub shoulders with some of the world's best academics and investment professionals and even billionaires. I literally had a billionaire and his family sit down to listen to the story of my life. So, and I'm not saying any of this to impress anyone, because there are many people who have done much more impressive things in life, right? Without ever having to make a pact with God, or without ever having to believe in God, right? I'm just a regular person taking notes in this school of life, and now I am trying to impress in your minds, and I'm hoping to make it sink in your minds that anything, literally anything, is possible if you start with the end in mind. So I started thinking about YouTube because it could potentially help me to reach out to as many people as possible without having to sacrifice a lot of the time that I was supposed to devote for school and other things that I needed to do in life, right? And then after that, I also started thinking about whether or not I would want to limit the channel to school-related things, admissions, and things of that kind, or if I wanted to open it up to other things as well, right? And I did decide to open it up to other things later on when I spoke to my lecturer, one of my professors from my undergraduate degree. I had a call with her a couple of weeks ago, and she encouraged me to share with the world. She challenged me to inspire the world, right?
and to share with everyone how we can all do great things and live lives that are abundant the way God wants us to live abundant lives, right? And so to have her push for that, to me, I just thought to myself, you know what, this must be a sign. This actually really must be a sign. So here I am today. But I do want to emphasize this point though. We need to start with an end in mind in everything we do. When you have an end in mind, you will map a way forward even through the most difficult and disheartening of obstacles, because you understand how important it is for you to get to where you need to go at the end of the day. You understand that what has brought you here, what has brought you to the part of the journey that you are at, is greater than the temporary discomforts that you face. If we don't have an end in mind, if we don't know where we are going, any road will lead us there. If we don't know where we are going, external forces will drive our decisions, and we are just going to drift with the wind. We may end up getting professional competence, we may end up getting a lot of money or even recognition, but we will gain those things at the expense of our health or our relationships or our peace of mind, and also vice versa. But starting with the end in mind will help us because it gives us clarity. And when you have clarity, you become more efficient in programming your own life. You gain purpose and your energy also escalates. Backward planning gives you direction, it gives your life direction, and it also ranks your priorities in life such that you only ever take steps and actions in a way that leads to you living the kind of life that you want to live. It's not that difficult, but it's also not always as easy as it sounds. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful, and we will build on this concept in subsequent videos. We'll talk about how this can show up, how starting with an end in mind can show up in our relationships, in our academics, in our careers, in life in general, and of course money, right? And we will discover how this can help us live the best of the elegant and abundant lives that God wants us to live from wherever point in life that we're at. And for now though, and for the next few weeks, I will focus more on the recruiting side of things, applying for grad school, applying for undergraduate degree, applying for maybe scholarships and school related topics in general. And then we will take 1 or 2 breathers in between to talk about something else outside that. But even within those topics, even within the school related, academics related topics, we will be learning very important principles within that can be applied and that should be applied in other areas of life as well. So please click on the link below and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the videos that I'll be posting, but also so that I know that what I'm sharing and what I'm talking about is actually useful to someone, right? And also share with the people in your circles. And thank you for watching my first YouTube video today.